Time for some K-Sports action. From new contracts to a new Olympic chief in Korea to winter sports in Asia. We will have it all covered with our sportscaster, Jason Lee, who is joining us in the studio. Hello, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Hello.
So, Jason, why don't we start with where we kind of left off last time? We talked about Kim Hye-Seong, who used to be from the Kyum Heroes, maybe I should say now. So last time, we were just a few hours away from him signing with a Major League Baseball team. And the next morning, we found out that he did sign a contract with the LA Dodgers, not the Angels, not Padres. So that was quite a big surprise, wasn't it?
Honestly, it was. There are a lot of teams that seem to have been publicly in on Kim Hye-seong's services. The Mariners were another team that was interested. The Angels, I think, were the front runners because it had already been reported that they offered a $28 million contract for 5 years. And what was really surprising is that the LA Dodgers ended up signing him for just $12.5 million over 3 years. So that's less than half the guaranteed money. Now, the Dodgers also have 2 team option years that could make the contract worth as much as $22 million. That's still $6 million less than what the LA Angels were offering. And the Angels and Dodgers essentially play in the same city, within like an hour apart. So it's not like you're gaining major differences here or there. Although, of course, the Dodgers are the reigning World Series champions. They've got a lot of Asians on their team already. The history, of course, with Park Chan-ho and Ri Hyun-jin having been played there before. Right. And, of course, Kim Hye-seong did say that he grew up watching a lot of those particular games on TV of his fellow countrymen. So the Dodgers were one of his favorite teams as a kid, which I think certainly made him want to go there. But he took a significant pay cut in order to play for the Dodgers rather than any of the other teams. Another thing that was kind of surprising at the time is that the Dodgers already had a second baseman in Gavin Lux, while the Angels, they were offering him the starting second job because they were going to move Luis Rengifo to third base and essentially sit Anthony Rendon. So it seemed like the media at the time of the signing were saying, okay, Kim Hye-seong took much less money to go and become a bench player, utility player with the Dodgers, rather than, taking more money to play for the Angels. A couple of days after he signed, the Dodgers ended up trading Gavin Lux to the Cincinnati Reds. So in the end, it does turn out that it appears that Kim Hye-seong should be the starting second baseman for the Dodgers. I think in the end, he's happy that he's with the team that he wants to be. They're a good team that are going to be winning a lot of games for the most part. And the LA Dodgers have to be absolutely thrilled by the fact that they get Kim Hye-seong at a very, very cheap contract, just like around $4 million a year, essentially. They get a Gold Glove quality second baseman, and he's Korean in Los Angeles, who have the largest population of Koreans outside of Korea. So they should be able to sell even more tickets and sell more paraphernalia and stuff for people to go and watch their games. So it's a win-win for everybody.
So in the end, I guess it all turned out well for Kim Hye-seong as well as the LA Dodgers, the team. And, money doesn't always count. Like, it's not always the priority for everyone, I guess.
Absolutely. It doesn't always bring happiness, but certainly, and if you're winning games, I think, and you have enough money, then, yeah, everyone can be happy.
And I'm sure all the Koreans in LA are definitely very excited that he's, coming to the Dodgers as well.
If I were living in LA right now, I'd be thrilled.
Super excited. Yeah. Yes, for sure. And also, speaking of contracts, let's move on to soccer contract now. Sonny, Heung-min also had his contract extended for another year with his team, Tottenham. And how do you think this will affect the long-term future with, Sonny in Tottenham? And is there a chance that, he could move to other teams before his contract gets over next summer?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about this, and in all honesty, his contract was originally going to expire in June of this year. That's been extended 1 more year, which Tottenham had the right to do. So I think, to be honest, it was kind of a foregone conclusion that that would happen, and now it has happened. So it really doesn't change too much in terms of the rumors. We're still going to hear about Barcelona wanting his services. We're still going to hear about the possibilities of him returning to Germany. We're still going to hear about maybe some of these teams in Saudi Arabia or the Arabic countries paying amazing amounts of monies to acquire his services. And we're also going to continue to hear about Tottenham perhaps negotiating with them to extend his contract perhaps an extra 2 or 3 years. I would like to think probably until about 2027 because the World Cup is going to be played in 2026 in North America. And I think you want to keep him until at least a year after that, because he'll be more valuable while he's playing in the World Cup. And by then, he'll be 34 years of age. Who knows where his career goes by then. But in terms, to answer your other question, is it possible that he goes to another team? It certainly is. And like I said, the rumors will persist. It's not going to be, okay, he signed an extension, so that means this all goes away. He can still be transferred in the next window. Technically, he could be transferred right now for the next couple of weeks, but I don't think that's going to happen. And to be honest, I would still be surprised if he was transferred at all. And the biggest reason for that actually being because of Heung-min, who just went to Tottenham a month ago from Korea. So you have this 18-year-old teenage Korean phenom who's playing on the same team as Heung-min, and it just doesn't make sense if they were to allow their captain and mentor, perhaps, to leave because of money. I mean, to gain a few $1 million more, let's, perhaps have question marks about the development about Heung-min, because what if, let's say, what if they transferred Heung-min to another team, they get some cash out of it, but then 4 or 5 years from now, if Heung-min doesn't develop the way that he does, you're going to wonder, what if? What if we had kept Heung-min this whole time until 2027? Maybe Heung-min would have become a different player. And I think that what if would be really difficult to get over from the team's perspective. So I would be shocked, and I certainly hope that Tottenham don't transfer him for that reason.
I hope that Son is going to be a great Hyung to Yang.
Exactly. And, could you imagine if you were Heung-min, you signed with Tottenham, you go there, and a month or two after arriving there, it's like Son gets transferred to another team. You'd be like, now I'm here by myself, right? I mean, I could see how it could change the trajectory of his career for both of their sakes. I hope he stays.
Very excited to see, what happens with Heung-min both and Son Heung-min as well.
Oh, and I might also add, Heung-min actually made the roster of their team recently. So he didn't start, he didn't get into the game, but he was on the substitute list as one of the 9 substitutes that did not play. So it was a move in the right direction, that it shows that he's developing, that they were able to trust him enough that he might get into a game. He actually didn't play it, but maybe in the next month or two, we might see Heung-min as the youngest ever Korean to play in the English League.
Very, very excited to see him play as well. And Sonny and, Heung-min together on one field in the same team. That's going to be very touching for definitely me to watch the game. But speaking of Sonny, we have to talk about yesterday's game as well, because he did score another goal, right?
He did.
We weren't able to see the check-up ceremony, but we did see the quiet ceremony, yes. It was against Arsenal in the North London derby. Please tell us about the game that happened yesterday.
Yeah, let's first talk about the goal that Son Heung-min scored. It was a volley, a really high ball that came down just outside the box. He smashed it, and it was through a crowd of defenders. He was fortunate that it hit the right leg of a defender and ricocheted into the goal that gave Tottenham a 1-0 lead. Certainly, this is a huge game because Arsenal, of course, one of the top teams in the table right now. Unfortunately, however, Tottenham gave up a couple of late goals in the first half. They fell behind 2-1, and that's the way the game would eventually end. For Tottenham themselves, they have really struggled as of late. I want to say they have maybe 1 win in their last 13 contests or something like that. And they just have not been able to perform when it comes to 1-goal games. They have the fewest draws in the league. I think they only have 3 draws. And they're second in the English Premier League in goals scored. So the fact that you're second in goals scored, and they're currently 13th overall in the standings. Obviously, defensively, they're not doing great. But the biggest issue right now is these one-goal games that they can't seem to win, or at least get a draw out of. Just to get a single point would put them up at least 2 or 3 more spots in the standings.
Interesting. Well, let's shoot over to a different sports topic now. Next month, we have a big sports event coming up, the Asian Winter Games in China's Harbin. And this event actually for the first time in 8 years. So let's talk a bit about the event and also Team Korea. How is Team Korea preparing for it?
Yeah, that's right. So the Asian Winter Games taking place, like you mentioned, in Harbin, it hasn't happened for 8 years because of COVID-19, of course. And let's face it, when it comes to the Asian Games for winter sports, Korea, Japan, China, and Kazakhstan are pretty much the 4 countries that dominate in this. You think of like Southeast Asian countries, not as strong in winter sports
not much
in terms
snow
of their
there.
presence. Yeah, exactly, or ice for that matter. So Korea is definitely going to have a tremendous advantage for most countries, especially their short track speed skating team. Obviously, they do great in the Olympics. No reason for them not to perform especially well in the Asian Games. One name that I would like to mention as a standout is Cha Jun-hwan. He is a male figure skater, and he currently is the reigning silver medalist from the 2023 World Championship. So you have an athlete who's still young, just 21 years of age, that has performed on the world stage once again, and I think he's definitely got to be one of the favorites going into the Asian Winter Games. And hopefully, if he can win the gold here, that can really help him raise his confidence for the next Winter Olympics. Certainly, he's a name that, I would say if you go after Kim Yeon-ah, he's probably been the most successful Korean figure skater since. So if you think of, someone that's making a name for themselves, I think, like I said, if he can really win a gold medal here, raise his confidence level, I could see how that could catapult him even further for the next Winter Olympics.
Well, let's keep an eye on him. And last but not least, Korea has a new Olympic chief, Heung-min, who, of course, is a table tennis gold medalist, and he is now the president of the Korean Sport and Olympic Committee. With that, he defeated, I don't know if defeated would be the good way to say here, Lee Ki-heung, who failed his 3rd consecutive term. So what does this mean for Korea?
Well, Lee Ki-heung was at age 70, like you mentioned. He was going after a 3rd term, but he was also in the International Olympic Committee as well. But he loses his post, not just because of this, but also because of age factor, being 70 years of age, as mentioned. So Heung-min takes over his spot. It was actually a pretty close vote that Heung-min won by. And I like this. I'm a little bit biased, but I like the fact when you have former athletes, former successful athletes in roles like this, rather than administrators like Lee Ki-heung. So the fact that Heung-min won the gold medal in table tennis back in 2004, he was very prevalent in the Paris Olympics. We mentioned Shin Yu-bin previously as an ambassador of Korea that won multiple bronze medals at the Paris Olympics. Heung-min was regularly seen with her, talking with her during the Paris Olympics, and things like that. When you have influential people in high positions making decisions for the athletes' sakes, right? Those are the things that I like to see. There were some issues with Korea's Olympic group, let's call them, especially coming out of the Paris Olympics when it comes to the badminton group in particular. There were some question marks and, some calls for resignations and stuff like that. So hopefully a new administration going in, coming from a player's vantage point, only helps for Korea's future when it comes to amateur and Olympic sports.
Let's see how he will do in his new role. And Jason, thank you very much for today's sports news.
Pleasure as always.
And thank you, Bella. Have a great weekend. We will see you back next week.
Yes, I'll see you back next week.